very interesting. I can't that the power shift in the balance of scales between like who has the power from employee to employer has just felt like whiplash the last few years, from the Great Resignation to now all the layoffs. And my fear is like companies in this time when they have power choose to do not great things. And I think a lot of HR people that I know and myself personally, like just because some employers think they have the power does not mean we should be doing bad things to the employees and not caring ultimately about how they are treated. And I think there are some employers who have. So,
but that's why HR is so important. Like you, you're an advocate.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I do love that. I feel like a lot of HR people don't get a lot of appreciation. I think it's like a common theme. We're like either hated or misunderstood or just disliked at every organization. But I know so many great HR people who are trying day in and day out to do the right thing by employees, because they recognize like so many people have been hurt by their employer, and also they want to put out good in the world. And so the HR people I work with, while they're dealing with challenges, at the end of the day, I still have met so many HR people that are like, I truly care about the people that work at this company. And I don't think that's the case everywhere, which is why HR gets the terrible rep it does. But I do think as more Gen Z joins the workforce and more millennials become leaders and are the C-suite, I think we're going to see a shift in work where it does become really focused on how do we actually treat people every day? How do we milk them for all they're worth? I don't know. Is that too optimistic?
No, I think I have to brag on the Pay Scale people team. I have never worked with more passionate, incredibly intelligent people than I have at the Pay Scale people team. Like every day they shock me at how amazing they are. Like they're just so thoughtful, and they know, like, I mean, I told them when I first started, if you come to me requesting permission to terminate somebody, there better be a long email laying out all of the touch points that you've had with that person, giving them notice of performance improvements or whatever it is. Like, it should not be a surprise to them. And I said it once when I first started over 2 years ago. And like every email I get is just amazing. But going back to the bad rap, I think you and I bonded of our love for The Office. And Toby Flenderson is like not a great example of what HR should be.
Awful. The worst.
Horrible. Like he is, I mean, at the time, right? At the time the show was on, like that was kind of the normal thought process of like what HR looks like. But it has like completely shifted. I mean, even I practiced in California for a long time in Sacramento, and a lot of my clients were like the older generation HR people, and it wasn't cool to be in HR. Like they kind of just did things. They were kind of like Toby-ish, I guess, like in terms of how they operate. But I mean, at the same time, it's like now we're getting a bunch of younger people into these HR roles, the more compassionate people, you know, like you said, you never want somebody to feel like, we've all had that one experience where we're just like, we never want somebody to feel like I felt in X experience. So, and that's how I look at it too. I mean, I'm an extension of our people team at Pay Scale, but like there has been a time in my life where I'm like, I never want someone to feel the way I felt in that situation, like very early on in my career. So, I mean, it's the same thing.
And when it comes to pay, just like all the studies have shown, like the more transparent you are with pay, like the less inequity there actually is. And we're dealing with a world where there is still a gap between men and women in pay, and men, women, and women of color. And that's why we have those equal pay days. And they're so far in the year, if that's how long it's going to take somebody to achieve equal pay. And we're going to potentially achieve pay equity when I'm not even on this earth anymore.
I look
at those stats all the time, and it keeps me up at night thinking women are doing the same quality and level of work and being paid less is still just very disheartening across the board.
I mean, there's all these, like, we have our chief evangelist at Pay Scale. Her name is Ruth Thomas. She is just a firecracker, but she always talks about the maternal penalty. But women go out on maternity leave, and like how far behind they get because they've taken time off, either just in like the 12 weeks or whatever it is, or because they, like my mom, when growing up, she's a nurse. She took time off. Like she stayed at home with me and my brother until my brother was 16, then went back to work. Like there are women who take large gaps. I think maybe now it's a little less than what it used to be, like with our parents growing up. But I mean, that that maternal penalty is a huge, huge thing. And then we're seeing too, like, there's other mechanisms that we have on the legal front that are helping us close the pay gap. So outside of pay transparency, we have these salary history ban laws in like 30 states, meaning that talent acquisition folks can't ask you, well, how much are you making at your current role? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So they don't lowball you later. So we've got stuff like that. I mean, we've got obviously pay transparency, you know, in Illinois, Minnesota, and California. They've taken a page out of Canada's and the EU's book about pay reporting, like submitting pay data outside of EEO1 reporting, but the pay data broken down by gender and race and age. So, I mean, I think we're definitely moving in the right direction. I think when we have more states start requiring this on a national level, we'll be in a better position, because right now it's 1 in 4. I think our data shows 1 in 4 employees are affected by some sort of pay transparency law. And that has to do with remote work. It has to do with how many people live in New York and California and Colorado and Washington. But like 1 in 4 is a huge number.
That's wild.
Is that insane? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to be thinking about that for a long time after this, because I don't think people have fully grasped how impactful these laws are going to be. I think we know it because like you're up on the legislation. I'm just excited from like a HR practitioner standpoint that that's what's going to push us into the future. But I don't think people have truly comprehended how many states have passed the laws, how many more are to come, and all the things we are going to learn from like the pay reporting data. And especially like, I'm excited about the EU stuff. Like
Me too.
I mean, that to me is interesting. Like they do so many studies over there on the 4-day work week, like Iceland and their pay equity. And that stuff to me is like very interesting, because I think it can really shape the future of work. For lack of a better way of saying, like, we have to change.